and welcome to the special broadcast of World Today from Washington D.C. I'm right outside the hotel where Prime Minister Modi will be arriving in a few hours from now. He's going to be in Washington D.C. for the also important meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump. There are a lot of areas that are going to be discussed, areas of convergences as also divergences. In the next half hour, we'll be talking about all those aspects of ties between India and the United States of America. There are only a few leaders who've made it to Washington, D.C. in the first 100 days of President Trump having taken office. Prime Minister Netanyahu arrived with the golden buzzer. We are told Prime Minister of Japan came down to Washington, D.C. completely prepared. He had notes. He was told exactly what to say, what not to. The Jordanian king was here, King Abdullah, and there was a bit of a diplomatic strain, so to say, when it comes to Gaza. On the one hand, President Trump spoke about how he is going to turn Gaza into a Riviera. King Abdullah, absolutely not fine with that, stayed quiet during the press conference, but later Jordan clarified its position. What is going to happen between India and the United States of America? Will President Trump raise the issue of illegal immigration? And after the concerns that India raises with regards to mistreatment, what is Trump's response going to be? All that and more will be seen over here. We'll be tracking all the developments on that front. But first, let's look at what are the big developments that the two countries are going to focus on. It is the most important anticipated handshake of the year. The leaders of the world's oldest and the biggest democracies are set to meet in Washington, D.C. The Trump-Modi Milan comes within a month of Donald Trump taking over as U.S. president.
The fact that the Prime Minister has been invited to visit the U.S. Within barely 3 weeks of the new administration taking office shows the importance of the India-US partnership and is also reflective of the bipartisan support that this partnership enjoys in the United States.
The focus likely would be on reducing import tariffs, increasing purchases of U.S. energy and defense equipment, and addressing long-standing trade issues. The meeting comes at a time when trade, defense, cooperation and energy have taken center stage in India-US ties.
The Prime Minister was invited by the administration within the first few weeks of him being in power. I think that's pretty significant, and it speaks to the importance of the U.S.-India partnership. Now, it'll be a bit of an unusual meeting in the sense that these are early days for the administration and hasn't really had an opportunity to focus on its approach to India. You also have a number of key posts within the administration focused on India.
Both the leaders are going to push hard to serve their individual agendas. But a successful bilateral is in the best interest of both the countries. Lisa Curtis, who was part of U.S. President Donald Trump's White House team in his first term, says, and I quote, "Clearly the Trump administration is prioritizing relations with India. They recognize that India is an important emerging global power and really has the potential to transform the Indo-Pacific region and the world." Unquote.
Featuring past officials from the U.S. government on examining what has happened in U.S.-India relations over the past 4+ years, and also the hope for what is to be expected under the Trump administration. I think particularly on issues like defense, security, and strategic relations. I'd say on trade and economic issues, there was mixed. I think there was some more cautious optimism that the opportunities were there.
In his 2-day visit, Prime Minister Modi is expected to meet several members of the U.S. President's cabinet, as well as U.S. business leaders and members of the Indian-American community.
You know, Modi ji and Trump have met 2 times before. They had very good chemistry, good meeting, and I am looking forward to this meeting. It is so good that Modi ji is only the second Prime Minister who is coming to visit Trump after he became president again. The immigration issues, there is just so much going on, and it's important that Modi ji is here rebuilding that bond of friendship that he had established with President Trump.
It's a fantastic opportunity between the two leaders and two countries. You have to understand Trump is trying to drive change both domestically and internationally. And India is looking at more investments and technology from the U.S. And both leaders understand what are their priorities. They do have a very strong relationship and warmth towards each other. So I think it's an important occasion to set the agenda for the next 4 years between the two countries and two leaders.
Prime Minister Modi may also meet SpaceX and Tesla chief Elon Musk. India is keen to scale up its burgeoning electric vehicles sector. Musk's Tesla could boost it. Modi and Trump could also address the Russia-Ukraine conflict, both committed to global peace when they spoke on the phone in January. Prime Minister Modi can reiterate India's readiness to help resolve the conflict and support the swift restoration of peace and stability.
We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war and millions of people can stop being killed. They've lost millions of people. They lost, in terms of soldiers, probably 1.5 million soldiers in a short period of time. We got to stop that war.
A high-stake meeting that the world has its eyes on. The stage is set for the Modi-Trump meet. Bureau Report, India Today.
Trade and tariff are going to be very important aspects of talks between the two leaders. India seeks concessions from the United States of America at a time when Donald Trump has been stressing on reduction of tariffs by India. Which way is this talk going to head is something we'll have to wait and see. We do know that the United States of America, various administrations and leaders, irrespective of party affiliation, have always supported great economic ties with India. US has seen trade through the Chinese prism, and in such a scenario, what is going to be on the table when it comes to trade?
If the chemistry 4 years ago between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump is any indication, the two world leaders will get along well again. Within 25 days of Donald Trump's return to power, Modi will visit the White House, a move symbolic of the perceived close ties between the two nations.
The fact that the Prime Minister has been invited to visit the US within barely 3 weeks of the new administration taking office shows the importance of the India-US partnership and is also reflective of the bipartisan support that this partnership enjoys in the United States. And the visit will be a valuable opportunity to engage the new administration on all areas of mutual interest.
However, the current US president is very different from the one in office 4 years ago. He has entered the White House guns blazing, implementing sweeping changes to American policy. He is also pushing for a more level playing field in trade, threatening tit-for-tat tariffs. And as he himself put it, India is one of the biggest trade abusers. Not only does India have one of the highest weighted trade tariff across the World Trade Organization, it also has a massive trade surplus with the United States of America, which has only grown in the past 5 years. Trump is not too happy about this. Some of his concerns, however, may have been addressed in Budget 2025, where the finance minister proposed cuts in import duties on high-end motorcycles, lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles, and equipment used for manufacturing mobile phone batteries. This will benefit American companies like Harley-Davidson, Tesla, and Apple. The government is also reviewing import tariff on as many as 30 other items. Fresh from taking to the global stage at the AI Action Summit in Paris, Prime Minister Modi's agenda in Washington D.C. is clear. He wants to prevent a trade war at any cost with the United States of America while strengthening the US-India ties. India is looking to revive a trade deal with the USA that was close to completion during Trump's first term. To sweeten the deal, India is also eyeing defense agreements covering transport aircraft, next-generation fighters, infantry vehicles and advanced drones. There are also talks of a deal for the US companies to supply nuclear reactors to India. Another pressing issue on the table is the growing resentment toward Indian immigrants in the USA. This, along with the issue of expanding H-1B visa program, are two hot potatoes the two leaders are likely to discuss in their bilateral meeting. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Buy American. That's going to be Donald Trump's pitch when he meets Prime Minister Modi when it comes to defense equipments. The US President and US administration have been pushing very hard for India to start looking at US as a very important strategic option when it comes to defense weapons systems and equipments. Is India going to look at the United States of America as a strong alternative when India is a huge market and has various options and alternatives at a time when 60% of India's defense equipments come from Russia? Given the Ukraine war, can India reduce its dependence on Russia? Is it looking at other options? And when it is looking at other options, how important is Made in America, Make in America going to be for India and for the United States of America?
India is in talks with the United States for the purchase and co-production of combat vehicles as well as finalizing a fighter jet engine deal. India is the world's biggest arms importer, and in this, Russia has been its traditional source. In January, when the US President Donald Trump invited the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi for a two-day visit to Washington, he suggested that India should buy more US-made security equipment. India and the US have been in protracted talks over the co-production of Stryker combat vehicles made by General Dynamics and also used by the US Army. They are also working to wrap up contract talks on co-production of fighter jet engines in India for the Indian Air Force. This was a deal agreed in 2023.
All the options are under discussion, and we certainly wish to expedite the transaction which we would like to have with the USA. Now the production line has stabilized, not only in HAL, but also the engine, GE404 engine. So we are sure that from 25-26 onwards, the LCA Tejas supply would be as per the original plan.
Officials of Hindustan Aeronautics Limited are set to meet in coming weeks with US officials and the aerospace unit of General Electric, the maker of GE414 engines, for talks to finalize the deal by March this year.
We are working with our American partner GE company, which is supplying GE404 engine, so that their supply also gets streamlined in this year 25-26 and onwards.
New Delhi has started talks with the Trump administration on a plan to buy Stryker vehicles after they were demonstrated late last year for the Indian Army. The plan is to acquire a few hundred Strykers with a mounted anti-tank guided missile systems. This could help India to co-produce these locally in future. Since 2008, India has contracted over $20 billion worth of US origin defense equipment. In the first term of the US President Donald Trump in the Oval Office, India and the US made significant defense deals. Within the first 2 years of coming to power, India and US signed the foundational or enabling agreement COMCASA on the sidelines of the inaugural 2+2 dialogue on 6th September 2018. The Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement, or BECA, signed in October 2020, enabled India to access high-quality satellite data for enhanced accuracy of missiles and armed drones, benefiting Indian defense capabilities. Before that, in Feb 2020, India and the US concluded defense deals worth $3 billion for 24 MH-60R Seahawk multi-role helicopters for the Navy and 6 AH-64E attack helicopters for the Army. 5 years later, once again when Prime Minister Modi and President Trump sit down together, defense would be one of the top items on their agenda for sure. Bureau Report, India Today.
Prime Minister Minister Modi and President Donald Trump built a very strong bonhomie during their first terms, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi became Prime Minister of India and President Trump took over the Oval Office for the first time. Prime Minister Modi returned to power in 2019. Unfortunately, President Trump could not win the Oval Office in 2020 and therefore lost the race. But now they're back. But let's look at what that strong bonhomie was all about, the bromance between the two leaders during their first terms.
He needs no introduction. His name comes up in almost every conversation. The President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump.
His second term campaign in 2020, then incumbent American President Donald Trump featured his pal, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
I have the honor to introduce you to my family.
But then, this wasn't the first time either. 4 years before this, when Donald Trump first won the Republican ticket in 2016, he used a slogan.
Abhi ki baar, Trump Sarkar.
It was inspired by Narendra Modi's first prime ministerial election campaign of 2014.
Ab ki baar, ab ki baar.
It set the tone of their relationship as soon as Donald Trump came to White House as the 45th President of the United States of America.
Solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
They met and hugged and cracked jokes together like long-lost friends.
He actually speaks very good English. We just don't want to talk about it.
The formalities of two world leaders meeting under public glare was always warm in friendliness.
Since India opened its economy, it has achieved astounding growth and a new world of opportunity for its expanding middle class. And Prime Minister Modi has been working to bring that vast country and all of its people together as one. And he is working at it very, very successfully indeed.
मुझे विश्वास है कि मेरा न्यू इंडिया का विजन तथा राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप का मेक अमेरिका ग्रेट अमेरिका के विजन में निहित कन्वर्जेंस हमारे सहयोग के नए आयाम पैदा करेगी। मेरा यह स्पष्ट मत है कि एक मजबूत और सफल अमेरिका में ही भारत का हित है।
That was Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit to the White House. It was a historic moment, and people from both the countries loved it.
बात बनेगी तो क्या गाना गाया जाएगा?
हम कहेंगे
ये मुलाकात
ये दोस्ती हम नहीं तोड़ेंगे दम मगर तेरा साथ ना छोड़ेंगे.
Ended up being, I think, a bit better than we originally expected. As the event started to come together, the visit started to come together, President Trump began to focus on India in a way that he didn't during the campaign and the early part of his administration. And I think the recognition that the cooperation has been excellent in multiple fronts, I think they did roll out a much more exciting welcome than we'd expected just a few weeks ago.
Modi Sarkar was 3 years old, while Trump was months old in the Oval Office.
In just 2 weeks, you will begin to implement the largest tax overhaul in your country's history. We're doing that also, by the way. Creating great new opportunities for your citizens. You have a big vision for improving infrastructure. And you are fighting government corruption, which is always a grave threat to democracy.
and together they set out a path to greater glory.
आतंकवाद जैसी वैश्विक चुनौतियों से अपने समाजों की सुरक्षा राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप तथा मेरी टॉप मोस्ट प्राथमिकताओं में से एक है, क्योंकि भारत तथा यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स विश्व की दो विशाल डेमोक्रेसीज का साझा सशक्तिकरण हमारा उद्देश्य है.
Within a couple of months of this visit, Donald Trump sent his daughter Ivanka to India, and Prime Minister Modi was the perfect host to his pal's favorite girl, building a personal relation between not only two countries, but a close bond with the Trump clan.
Makes this edition of GES stand out. In Indian mythology, woman is an incarnation of Shakti, the goddess of power. We believe women empowerment is vital to our development.
And find new ways to lift barriers in our society so that women are free to innovate, empowered to succeed, and able to leave our children a brighter future.
Over the next 3 years, they watered this relation patiently and regularly, meeting at different global summits, together solving world problems, while supporting each other's domestic decisions, keeping their individual countries as first priority. Narendra Modi returned as the Prime Minister with a thumping majority, and his friend from Washington D.C. was elated. He even said that India was lucky to have his BF at the helm of power. The Indian Prime Minister laid out a red carpet welcome for his American dost in his 2020 maiden visit to India as the POTUS. Namaste Trump event was bigger and befitting a welcome rally in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home state, Gujarat, than Howdy Modi was.
इंडिया यूएस फ्रेंडशिप आप बोलेंगे लॉन्ग लिव लॉन्ग लिव लॉन्ग लिव लॉन्ग लिव इंडिया यूएसए फ्रेंडशिप इंडिया यूएस फ्रेंडशिप इंडिया यूएस फ्रेंडशिप.
America loves India. America respects India, and America will always be faithful and loyal friends to the Indian people.
Before the end of his first term and the year, the American president honored his Indian dost with the prestigious Legion of Merit, the top US military award recognizing outstanding service and achievements. By then, he was set to get out of the White House, and Prime Minister of India had more than 3 years left in the second term of his office.
That's all in this edition of World Today from Washington, D.C. We'll keep coming to you with all the latest updates from here. The news breaks, exclusives from the ground, but also special reports on World Today. Stay tuned to India Today for all the latest updates and news reports after a short break. Thank you for watching.